Okay, now next on our program, we have someone to tell our personal story about what the spread of CAFOs, or spread of antibiotic-resistant bacteria can do that spread from the CAFOs. Next on our program is Lois Dovico. Would you come up? Lois, come on up while I'm introducing you here. Dovico, I'm sorry. We'll hear from her story how the spread of antibiotic bacteria can disrupt lives and even threaten lives of the people that live near CAFOs. Lois is the owner of Dovico Garden and Greenhouse in Batavia, where she specializes in succulents, potted plants, and hanging baskets for wholesale clients. She lives near a 10,000-head Valley View swine hog confinements near Batavia. She was active in the Save Batavia and Eldon, a group that opposed the CAFO coming into their community. So please, let's welcome Lois Dovico.
Good evening. I hope everyone can hear me. On May 25th of 2010, my life changed forever. I'm a survivor of necrotizing fasciitis. That's the flesh-eating disease. Necrotizing means dying, and it's where your tissue turns black. And the fascia is your protective membrane that surrounds your muscles. And it helps your muscles glide and move. And I run a greenhouse business, and I have eczema, and I had a spot of it on the top of my right foot. And I kept it bandaged, but when you're watering 3 greenhouses, you get wet. And so I got up that morning and I went to work as usual, and I had to go make a delivery to one of my wholesale clients. And I went up to Lone Tree. And by the time I got there, I just instantly felt sick to my stomach. Started getting a fever, and went in and made my delivery and came back out to my truck. And while I was trying to get out of the truck, I ended up having just a sharp stabbing pain in my right groin. I couldn't lift my leg, and it took me a little while to try to get out of my delivery truck. And my leg wouldn't hardly move. I'm really a normally healthy person, and I really felt bad. And so when I made my delivery, I get back out to my truck, and I called my doctor to see if he could see me when I get back. So it's the 25th of May. It was 80 degrees that day, and I'm freezing. I've got the heater on high. And by the time I make it back to the greenhouse, one of the gals that works for me, she says, well, you look like you've got a temperature of 104. So she gave me some ibuprofen, 4 of them. Took me home, and one of my sons was home, so he took me to the doctor. And they're checking me out and taking my temperature, and the nurse says, how many ibuprofen did you take? And I thought I was in trouble because I took 4 of them, and she says, my God, you're 105.6. You can't imagine how hot that is. I was really sick. So they put me in the hospital immediately, started me up with 2 IVs with some real powerful antibiotics, and that was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then by the evening time, all of my kids were there, and the lower leg of my right leg was starting to swell and getting extremely red. And my daughter-in-law, who was a nurse at that time, an RN at the Fairfield hospital, she said she was going to come back early the next morning to be there when the doctor was there. And my leg was so swollen and so red and so hot, you could feel the heat coming off of it 8 inches away from my leg. And so she came in the next morning, and she decided she was going to draw a timeline around the redness. and in 20 minutes it had doubled. So the doctor decided there wasn't anything else, he was doing everything he could, I wasn't improving, so they sent me to the University of Iowa. And I had like 7 different doctors come in and look at me and take pictures. And the last doctor that came in, Dr. Lucy Wibbenmeyer, she was a surgeon. And she wanted to take a look at both my areas, my lower leg and also up around my groin. And that area, it was gray. It was just an odd gray look. And she took pictures and she said, "My dear," she says, "you have necrotizing fasciitis and you're going to be in surgery in 20 minutes. We have to cut this away. We have to take it off." And I said, "Oh, let's just stop and think about this." And she says, "No, there is no thinking about it. You'll be dead before night if we don't." And so they took me into surgery. I had 2 removal surgeries that day. And a week later, then I had my first skin grafting. They shaved the leg, my left leg, they took all the skin off of it and grafted it over. And they have to staple it on. And I think I had a little over 250 staples in my leg. And a week later then I was released to go to Covenant Rehab. And I was there for 2 weeks to learn how to walk again. You just can't imagine the pain. So I get home. I still have to have a lot of care. Every day, my husband and my daughter-in-law are showering me. They have to debride my leg every day, take off the dead tissue, and rebandage because it's just raw. Both of my legs were just raw. And so 2 days before I had to go back for a checkup, I woke up again with a temperature of 104. And my husband calls Dr. Wibbenmeyer and she said, "Send me a picture," and she told him to get me back up there. It was back. That time I had it with strep, staph, and MRSA. And it is proven that MRSA comes from the hog sewage. It is airborne. It's just unbelievable how they are allowed to do what they do. So everything ended up being removed from my whole right leg up into my hip. And so I was still, I had to have a lot of care, and it ended up taking me almost 4 years to really get my strength back, to be able to walk any distance. Only 25% people survive this. And I feel that I was lucky enough to survive this, to tell my story. This is real, people. It really is. And the doctors told everyone in my family that Iowa is the leading state in this disease. That is not something to be proud of. And they also say that it is from the farming practices. They have a very large database. They collect information from everyone that goes up there. They know what's going on. And people, we've got to wake up. If you choose to eat meat, eat only organic. One way we can get to these guys is to not buy their products. Get them. We have to question where our food comes from and always question it. And there's a cost for everything. But is it right for us to have to pay for the others to profit at this, at the sake of our lives? I don't think so. And we have to realize that we're all in this together. Everything that we do has an effect upon something or someone else in life. That is just a fact. And that we have to realize that there has to be a better and a healthier way to raise these animals and to feed ourselves. Like I said, it took me about 4 years to get all of the anesthetic and the medications out of my system. I am back to growing again. I try to do as much as I can. I can't stand for a great amount of time because my leg is stiff. It doesn't move like it normally would. But you have to realize that this really can happen. And it's just devastating. It really is. I want to thank Diane and everyone at JFAN who's invited me to come and tell my story. You've really got to realize what good work that they do. And thank you for letting me share my story. Thank you.
That's what keeps me going after 20 years after I retired. There's stories like this.